welcome to ELL Plus with me, Josefine Henneberg.
And me, Malika Fachrou, bringing you news and features from around the boroughs.
That's Hackney and Tower Hamlets, Lewisham and Croydon.
In this week's programme, the Croydon tram crash, the official accident report says the driver probably lost awareness. We'll be hearing live from the scene.
CCTV footage of a man police suspect of carrying out up to 25 sex attacks in southeast London.
And a new virtual reality cafe opens in Croydon. Enjoy Star Wars with your coffee.
The Rail Accident Investigation Branch has released its final report into last year's Croydon tram crash, making 15 recommendations to improve tram safety. Investigators concluded the driver had possibly suffered what they called a microsleep due to fatigue. There was no mechanism to monitor driver alertness, and signs were not adequate. 7 people were killed and 61 injured, 19 seriously when the tram derailed at Sandylands last November.
This video released alongside the report shows how after the Lloyd Park stop, tram 2551 reached the maximum speed of 80 kilometers per hour or 50 miles per hour before entering a series of tunnels. The tram should have been reducing speed significantly as it approached the 20 kilometers per hour limit, marked by a speed limit sign at the start of the sharp curve into Sandylands Junction.
But the tram was travelling at 73 kilometers per hour, more than 3 times the limit. Investigators concluded this was probably because the driver lost awareness. The tram overturned due to the excessive speed. Passengers were thrown around inside and the tram slid along the ground on its side.
The British Transport Police, who arrested the driver on suspicion of manslaughter, are conducting a separate investigation. EL Plus have an exclusive first reaction from ASLEF union official Brennan, who thinks the driver shouldn't be blamed.
This tragedy happened because of a systemic failure, because the regulators regarded the tramway as a bus on rails and used much lower safety standards on the vehicle and how the system was operated than operated on the railway. Quite frankly, if that tram had been designed with the same standards of windows as exists on rail vehicles, the number of casualties would have been much smaller. It has to be accepted that individuals can always make mistakes. Actually, scapegoating any individual here just entirely misses the point.
We are going over now to our correspondent, Blair Jiang, who is at the crash memorial site in New Addington. Blair, what do you make of Brennan's comment? And how does it fit with the recommendation in its final report?
Yeah, I have just read the final report, and the mayor recommendation says about the automatic braking system and system to monitor driver alertness. ASLEF, which mentioned in the previous click, have been always been for the braking system, but just last month they threatened to strike over the driving alertness monitor. So this could be really contentious. And another recommendation from this report is about the strength of doors and windows on the tram, which could always seem as another very concrete measure which could limit any possible crash in the future.
And do we have any new information about the cause of the crash or anything from the driver of the tram?
Yes, the fact that the driver lost awareness is the big headline from this report. However, the RAIB says that it could be a seizure, and the fact is that there's a microslip happened. However, it just latest about a few seconds, and it is the biggest problem. However, in fact, the driver is not overworked.
Thank you. That was Blair Jiang.
Police have released CCTV footage of a man they believe has carried out a series of sex attacks in East London. Police say all the victims are female, one as young as 8 years old. Vivian has this report.
The Metropolitan Police are hunting for a male sex attacker who has struck over 25 times in southeastern London. The suspect, who is described as a middle-aged white man with blue eyes in his 40s, was captured on CCTV footage. The sex predator approached the victim and touched them before running away. The reported 25 incidents happened across 5 South London boroughs, including Lewisham, Greenwich, Saddock, Bromley, and Bexley, and 9 out of 25 sexual assaults happened in Lewisham between the end of June and the 22nd of November. The assaults happened during the rush hour between 7 to 9 in the morning and 4 to 6 in the afternoon. Out of 25 females assaulted, 16 were young children.
The majority of attacks happened in Lewisham, and this is where the latest incident happened. On Sandbourne Road in Brockley at 8:13 a.m. on 22nd of November, a 15-year-old student girl was assaulted by the suspect.
Detective Chief Inspector Andrew Furphy of Lewisham Police, who are leading the investigation, said, "If you are a victim or know someone who has been a victim of a sexual assault, I can assure you your information will be treated with the strict confidence and sensitivity. We also have access to specialist support. Anyone with any information should call Lewisham Police Station on 0208 284 8346. The sexual assaults have increased since the summer, and the police hope the suspect will be caught before they commit any more."
This week, a national anti-slavery march is due to take place to the Libyan embassy. The protest is about the illegal detention of black Africans in Libyan concentration camps and the selling of slaves. It comes in the wake of a disturbing footage shown on CNN portraying West Africans being auctioned in secret warehouses in Libya. The program inspired South London Afrobeats artist Mr. Silver to speak up about the issue. Maria Olorunfunmi has this report.
Last week, CNN showed an investigation uncovering a modern-day slave trade in Libya. This quickly sparked a series of angry tweets from well-known personalities, ranging from famous footballers to international pop stars. Afrobeats artist Mr. Silver has been very vocal on various media platforms, encouraging the upcoming generation to stand up and build Africa.
We need to go back home, you get me? People who were born in Europe or wherever in it, like, that have black heritage.
Silva, who lives in Lewisham, agreed to talk to us about his views on the issues.
I knew something was going on in Libya, but I didn't know to the extent that people were being bought and sold and so on and so forth until it started coming out more on CNN and so on and so forth, and other people were talking about it on the internet. And that's when I realised that the situation is deeper than what we may think it is.
Silva thinks that African governments must mend what he calls crack created by their negligence.
African governments need to be held accountable. We need to get involved. We need to correct these mistakes now. There's a crack in Africa and you keep ignoring the crack. What's going to happen? The crack's going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it's going to be a harder job for you to mend the crack, you know what I mean? So it's about now mending the crack, like literally from now.
Nearly 1,000 people have signed up to attend an anti-slavery march through London on Saturday. He doesn't believe in it, but suggests a different way of solving the problem.
The marching and that is dead. It's like putting foam in the crack. It's not getting rid of the crack. Like, it's not really getting rid of the crack. So man needs to actually be working on it from the ground up. Bow. Before you know it, the foundations have been put in properly. You know what I mean?
Artists like Silva help raise awareness on an issue that many would say should not even exist in 2017. Maria Olorunfunmi, ELL+.
Stay with us on ELL Plus News. Coming up after the break, a double murder in Deptford? Was gambling involved?
and we will be finding out how virtual reality could help reduce youth crime in Croydon. We will be back in just a few moments.
Welcome back. Police fear that the so-called Croydon cat killer could begin attacking women if he's not caught soon. There have been now more than 400 pet killings that police have linked to the same suspect. Cat owners have been on alert since the first killing started 2 years ago. 10 cats were found mutilated in Croydon. Similar killings have been reported from as far away as Norfolk, but most of the incidents have been within the M25. Police say the killer's trademark is returning the dead pets to their owners, often on the doorsteps. There is a £10,000 reward for information leading to the killer's arrest and conviction. If you have information, the Operation Takahi team are on this number, 0208 649 0216.
In the studio with us, we have Dr. Kiva Makanena, who is a forensic psychologist here at Goldsmiths. Dr. Makanena, what sort of person could be doing this crime?
Well, there are a few theories at the moment about what might be motivating someone to do this. So the first would be that they might be doing it to cope with some emotional difficulties or relationship difficulties in their own life. So for example, if somebody felt very out of control, very powerless in their own relationships and in their life, they might do this to gain a sense of control over a powerless animal. There's also a suggestion that there might be a ritualistic element to these crimes. So the fact that they're laying out the bodies in a particular way might suggest there's an obsessional element to the behaviour. And finally, there's also some consideration that they might be doing this as a communication of anger or hostility towards the cat owners, maybe because they didn't feel cared for themselves, or maybe because they've had an altercation with a neighbour or a cat owner. We're really not sure until we get some more information.
And the police have a fear currently that the cat killer could start attacking women. How do you think, how possible is that?
Well, it's definitely something that we can't rule out, but the evidence that we do have between people who harm animals and people who go on to harm humans is more complex than you might think at first. So there is some evidence that people who have committed serial killings have behaved in a way that's cruel towards animals in childhood, but the link between people who kill animals and people who go on to become violent is less clear. So really we want to gather some more information and we would answer that question.
And speaking of gathering more information, to understand the mind of the cat killer, how's the scientific work going on this case?
Well, I haven't been involved directly myself, but I have been involved with Snarl, and we've got some information from them. We've tried to get in touch with the police who are involved, and the forensic psychology unit at Goldsmiths has tried to offer to get involved and help Snarl by using psychological research methods and profiling and really gathering the data and looking for very clear patterns. But so far, they haven't taken us up on our offer, but we really would like to use our psychological knowledge and our research skills to absolutely pin down some of the patterns that would help to point us in the direction of who's doing this awful crime.
Dr. Kiva Makanena, thank you.
Croydon North MP Stephen Reid is appealing for local people to get behind the campaign to become London's first borough of culture. Bids closed on the 1st of December. 22 out of London's 32 boroughs have applied. Fairfield Halls hosted some of the biggest names in British music, including the Beatles and David Bowie. Now it's undergoing a makeover as part of the town's £5.25 billion regeneration programme. A new cultural and educational quarter is proposed for East Croydon, while the new Fairfield will create a new landmark destination for the arts in South London. The plans include a new performance space, a college, an art gallery, new shops, offices and homes. Croydon's council and development company, Brick by Brick, is working on the site. Costing £30 million, the new complex will be ready in 2018, just in time for the Borough of Culture, if Croydon wins the following year.
A double murder investigation is underway after a man and his daughter were found dead in the middle of the night in Deptford. Police are investigating their last movements and a possible link to gambling. It's just emerged that the man was a convicted sex offender. Our reporter Samuel Quashie-Idun joins us now live. Samuel, could you remind us briefly facts about what happened?
Yes, so I'm currently here in South London, and the bodies of 69-year-old Noel Brown and his 41-year-old daughter, Mary Brown, have been found dead in his home in New Butt Lane, Lewisham, on December 4th. The bodies were discovered just before 3 o'clock in the morning after police forced themselves into his home following concerns over Mr. Brown's well-being. So it has been reported as well that Noel Brown used to frequently attend his local betting shop, Paddy Power, located in Deptford High Street, and there's also been speculation that his murder might be linked to a large gambling win, but police have said that there's no evidence that suggests that.
Samuel, who's leading the investigation?
So the investigation is being led by Detective Chief Inspector Simon Harding from the Homicide and Major Crime Command, and I must also add that a post-mortem examination has taken place and the cause of death has been confirmed as strangulation for both victims.
Thank you very much, Samuel.
Now it's time for our regular roundup from the East London Lines website, and we are joined by Ellie Fry. So in terms of the stories you're covering at the moment, I gather that the increase in rail fares planned for the New Year's is making headlines.
Yeah, so we've actually done a big cross-borough story about how the increase in rail fares is going to impact the ELL boroughs. It's the biggest increase in 5 years, and Lewisham and Hackney are going to be the worst hit, with a 3.4% increase going to be implemented in the new year. Lewisham commuters are the worst affected as they rely heavily on Southern Eastern rails. Lewisham and Hackney have received £1.2 million worth of funding as a part of the Livable Neighbourhood Scheme, and this was created by Sadiq Khan. We've had a lot of response on social media with this. A lot of Lewisham residents have been complaining that Lewisham is in fact not a livable borough, with lots of complaints from things like litter and transport, so that's been quite interesting.
Speaking about the funding for Lewisham and Hackney, could you tell us a bit more about the reaction on Twitter?
Yeah, sure. So we've had a bit of a mixed reaction. So a lot of organisations from Lewisham have commended the fact that Lewisham have received funding. And then we've also had some residents complaining on our Twitter feeds about extensive litter problems in the borough that they've been having with no response from the council. So they're kind of using the story to get their voices heard. So it's been a quite interesting response on social media.
Thank you very much, Ellie.
Thank you.
Ellie Fry from East London Lines. After being labelled the borough with the highest level of youth violence in London, Croydon is fighting hard to rebuild its reputation with the opening of its newest virtual reality games, Cafe and Croydon Town Centre. Businesses in the borough are taking positive steps towards creating a friendlier and more social environment. Samuel Quashie-Idun has this report.
Virtual reality games are a growing business, and it was only a matter of time that the games appeared in Croydon.
Croydon is the second largest borough in London, with a population of around 380,000 people, 84,000 of which are under the age of 15. This week, it's welcomed its newest ever virtual reality games cafe, aiming to bring Croydon into the future.
Gamers have to wear a headset for the game.
And it's off.
To really have a virtual experience, they use 2 remote controls. This is what gamers can see when using the virtual reality headset, making it a thrilling experience. These gadgets encourage gamers not to just watch games, but instead step inside the experience, allowing them to fully immerse themselves into the game.
Very good. I enjoyed my time here. The most amazing thing is the first time we came, and once we had to remove and go back to work, well, it was like, oh, we're back to the real world.
This is amazing, seriously. I've still got the goosebumps right now. My hands are sweaty, I feel like I was going to fall over a few times, had breathing on my neck.
Limitless VR charged £20 for a 30-minute session.
Really cater for all different age groups, so we go from kids' parties to older generation who want to experience somewhere, like Google Earth, for instance, is a very good experience. So yeah, it's a huge variety of ages.
A lot of bad press happens around Croydon, and actually there are great things that happen here.
With the number of crimes reported in the town centre last year at an all-time high, over 37,000 crimes were reported in the borough. an enterprise like Limitless VR is welcome. About 1,000 of these crimes were related to violence or sexual offences, and over 700 were recorded as antisocial behaviour.
So I think we've got a great little thing going down here in terms of like gaming and entertainment, and a real alternative thing that really isn't on offer elsewhere in the South London. Spread that word out to the younger generation as well, and help and make this place a kind of a hub for them to come to and to enjoy the technology, but do it in a fun way.
Fans of the new Limitless VR Cafe say that it's a good step towards keeping teenagers away from the streets. However, a lot more still needs to be done. Samuel Quashie-Idun, ELL+.
Getting real down in Croydon, virtually. Well, time for us now to head off. Thank you for joining us.
And remember, you can catch up with all our latest news on our website, www.eastlondonlines.co.uk. We see you next week.